Okay, got it. So again, yes, I will repeat that this lecture is part of our abnormal psychology class that we have in Aalto International University. Yes, and I will try to be, as I mentioned already, not so clinical, but anyway, you have to understand that the word depression usually used by health professionals, if it's used by health professionals, usually it means diagnosis. Yeah, so do you understand? Yeah, these things. So, but sometimes, you know, people kind of in everyday life, yeah, we use this term also. It's not like a term. We use this word depression. Yeah, he feels depressed, or sometimes we say like, oh, I felt depressed yesterday. Yes, do you use this word in your everyday life? If you don't want to speak, just maybe you will message. Yeah, because I just also want to feel some interaction and communication, or after this recording, I will be feeling depressed also. Just have to know. So my question was, do you use this?
Yeah.
You use, okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people around me use this word in their daily life.
Yes, and
I have heard a lot. Yeah, I have heard a lot.
yes, you have heard a lot. And other people, have you heard, yeah, that in everyday life, we sometimes, so I don't know, some people use really often, yeah, this word. So it's usually kind of, I don't want to say this word, but now I think it's like fashion already on this word. he feels depressed, depression, and etc. As some other terms, maybe, you know, that came from psychology, like narcissism, like what else, borderline personality, like ADHD, and etc. So all these words, they actually diagnose this. But today we will be speaking about depression. Just one question before I continue, yeah, to show you my presentation. Do you know what does it mean, the word depression? Maybe you have heard the translation. Maybe you know exact meaning. Depression. What does it mean?
Yeah, as the word say, as the definition say, it's to be under press, to be pressed.
Yes, under pressure, yeah.
Under
So this
pressure.
is, yes, so this is actually this is key word here, yeah. To be under press, under pressure, depression. So, and sometimes when people experience if they had such state, emotional state or diagnosis, sometimes they experience, they how to say, they say about this experience like something heavy, like burden. Yeah, so it's usually associated with some burdenness. Have you heard? Yeah, maybe from some people when they describe this state, it's like something heavy. And that literally means to be under pressure. So, okay, I will share my screen now. Share my screen. Maybe you already have seen this statistics, but I actually took this statistics from the site of World Health Organization. Can you see the screen?
Mm.
So you see, for example, do you see these figures? More than 280 million people worldwide, they suffer from depression. So now I'm talking about diagnosis. It's not about just sometimes when we describe our state, like, oh, I felt depressed and etc. So I'm talking now about diagnosis. Yeah, so it's actually a huge amount of people. And you see these figures that almost 1 million people die every year due to suicide. And the age, yeah, of these people who commit suicide, it's not like total age, but it's average. Yeah, age is from 15 to 29 years old. So you see, this statistic, as I mentioned, I took from World Health Organization. And not always, but this diagnosis, yeah, sometimes leads to suicide. So if not to do a treatment, this kind may happen. I will tell later about these things. And also you see, so how, wait, I want to share my screen that you could see the whole. Do you see my face also, yeah, on the screen? Or you see the presentation, also my face, yeah?
Yes, also
Yeah,
your face.
the presentation.
Do you know how to do it so that it has to be on the full screen? How to do it? View, edit, just I want to show you the whole screen. Slideshow, yeah? It's like that. Oh, yes, cool. Now, yeah? You can see my face and now you can see, sorry. You can see the figures, yes? Okay, continue. And you see that kind there is such opinion that women suffers from depression more than men. So, and there is also such opinion that, women commit suicide due to depression often than men. And I mean, I'm not sure, I didn't look at the statistics, and maybe if you want, you can check yourself. But what we have to understand that if, again, I will tell you this thing, if not to treat depression, it can end with suicide. Yes. Okay, next. And I will stop, yeah, on these symptoms a little bit later. If we have time, yeah, more detail, I will stop on the symptoms. But I should tell that here, again, I'm using the information that I took from the web of the World Health Organization. And you see that how we usually describe, yeah, the depression, that it's not like 1 day or 2 days I have this, yeah, depressed mood. So at least it has to be minimum for 2 weeks. Yeah, it has to be constantly every day, and you have to feel sad. Yeah, you have to feel kind some heaviness, burdenness. You can feel that you are some empty inside. All these feelings that we describe sometimes in terms of sadness, melancholy. I don't know what words we usually use. Irritation, maybe sometimes, yeah, some forms of depression. People in some form they experience, high level of anxiety. But anyway, as we mentioned already, yeah, the word depression means to be under pressure, yeah, under some press, under some heaviness. So if you have this mood, at least for 2 weeks, minimum 2 weeks, then we can only tell about some possibility of this diagnosis, yeah. And so this is the main symptom. They include usually your emotional state, like main feeling here is a sadness, yeah. So other symptoms you can see, yeah, it's like poor concentration. Your attention is very, switchable. Sometimes, yeah, people start feeling, this unreal guilt. So it's not like when you did something intentionally wrong, or you hurt someone, or you punch someone into the face, when, for example, you were not able to do this. I mean, it's not like able, you didn't have to do this, because in our human society, in our modern society, we don't have such a habit to punch someone in the face if even this person kind of told you some bad words, yeah. But if sometimes we have to do these things to protect ourselves, yeah, so there are such cases anyway. We can feel guilty after this, yeah, but this kind of real guilt, because I mean, I could stay calm, yes, or maybe if even I couldn't, I was able just to shout, but not to punch someone in the face. I mean, this is like an example, but what I'm trying to show you, the difference between real guilt and like unreal guilt. So if we are talking about depression, then it's more about the feeling of guilt, but it's not connected with reality. So I didn't do something wrong. Yeah, in that sense, I didn't punch anyone into the face. I didn't say, any bad words to someone, but I have this feeling that I did something wrong. Yes, and it's not like only one day, yeah, for half a year I had this feeling, but minimum, yes, 2 weeks I had this feeling that I did something wrong. Yeah, if to talk about this term of self-esteem, some of you already know, yeah, you kind of studied this in general psychology classes, yeah, that self-esteem is really low, yeah, the person can't see a future, yeah, so this person doesn't have any plans, yeah, or sometimes, we talk with someone, and usually people um, thinking about some nearest future, at least, yeah. For example, if you now study psychology, maybe some of you already kind of think, oh, it's like already half a year and I will get my diploma. So, and I will be working there, I will do these things with my diploma, and etc. So it's some plans, some ideas, yeah, for future. But if the person suffers from the depression, usually they don't see this future. Yes, and they have this, thoughts, yes, that kind of, or if, for example, tomorrow will come, what will be if I won't wake up? Yeah, it will be better for everyone. So it's not literally, yeah, like I'm thinking that, oh, tomorrow I will commit suicide. It's kind of indirect, yeah, thoughts and thinking that like it's better for me not to live, because it's not only difficult for me, I'm kind of burden for other people, and etc. Yeah. So other symptoms can be some problems with sleep. So usually, we have different diagnoses connected with sleeping. Yeah, so sleeping disorders. Yeah, we call them. But usually, for example, some basic. Yeah. So this is our, how to say, this is our primary things. Yeah, we have to sleep, because when we sleep, our body is restored, not only about body, but also some new connections between neurons, yeah, trying, how to say, appeared, and etc. So if you lose this ability to sleep, or you kind of can't fall asleep, or you sleep very early, or your sleep is very kind of disturbing, and you kind of sleep only a couple of hours during the whole night, and etc. So you kind of lose this ability to restore, and this can lead also, yeah, to depression, because there is this direct connection when we have this diagnosis with physiology and biology, also neuropsychology. So it's not only about psychological, yeah, things, because we study psychology and we know that there are psychological process, psychic process, and etc. But here is very, very strong connection with body. with soma, if I can use this word, yeah, Latin word somatic. So that is why sometimes when people experience depression, they also have some somatic disorders, yeah, like I don't know, some problem with heart, stomach, and etc. So sometimes can be like that. And again, I'm coming back here to this sleep. So this can be one of the symptoms here, also of depression. Other symptoms can be that you can lose your appetite, or you can opposite, you can eat more. And sometimes if you kind of have seen people who suffer from depression, you know, or they're opposite very thin. If, for example, before they kind of were normal weight, yeah, they had normal weight, or opposite, if they were again kind of with normal weight, they become overweight. Yeah, so, and it's also can be, you know, one of the symptoms of depression. And also person can describe, you know, that he or she have this feeling of tiredness, that they don't have energy, yeah, that every morning when they wake up, yeah, they kind of don't feel that they had rest. You know, sometimes that coming back there to this sleep problems, it's not only short, yeah, sleeping, but sometimes they can opposite, they can sleep many hours per day, and this can be also one of the symptoms, yeah, of depression. So this kind of main and very common, yeah, symptoms of depression, but I have to tell that there are different types of depression, yes, and here I just describe only several of them. Yeah, it's like a major depressive disorder, persistent depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, burnout. By the way, it's also considered by some clinicians as one of the a form of depression, yeah, and seasonal affective disorder. Maybe you also have heard about disorder, depressive disorder that can happen with people after pregnancy or during pregnancy. Maybe you have heard, yeah, this term postnatal depression and etc. So because we are not psychiatrists, yeah, we are psychologists, you have to understand this thing that if person suffer from depression, and if we are talking about diagnosis, yeah, so here the medical treatment is necessarily. So that is why if you, for example, clinical psychologist, then you can do psychotherapy, and you can work with people who suffer from depression. If you don't have such background, yeah, maybe you can do it with some psychiatrist, you know. Yeah, because as I mentioned before, and as you can see, you see some of the symptoms, and they kind of describe this emotional state, and it's not only about feeling of the sadness, but the main thing that people who suffer from depression, they don't have energy, yeah? And they're very tired. And you know, if we talk about psychotherapy, sometimes for psychotherapy we need some strength and power, yeah? Because there are different forms of psychotherapy, yeah? And if we are talking about actually I don't know, some forms of psychotherapy, like cognitive behavior therapy, or even psychoanalysis, I don't know. So actually in psychotherapy we use words, yeah, but anyway, for this type of therapy we need some strengths. Of course, if you, for example, using some art therapy, anyway, you don't use words, but anyway, yeah, to I don't know how to say this, to draw something, yeah, to put something outside without words, outside from your internal world into the paper, or I don't know, into some other material. You also need yeah, power. So in that sense, it's not always effective. What I'm trying to tell you, that it's not always effective to do only psychotherapy with people who suffer from depression, because sometimes literally they don't have a strength for that. So did you get it? So if you have some question, just please ask me. Don't wait till the end. As I can see, so there is no question. So I can go further, yeah, because I want to give you some, historical perspective. But maybe you know about these things. How do you think? I will stop share, yeah, for some time. Just tell me. Maybe you have heard how people were understanding this depression before, not like now. We just described, yeah, how in the modern society we understand this term. So we described, yeah, that we use this term often. Not only psychologists or psychiatrists or health professionals use this term, but also in everyday life, just people using this word. But how do you think historically did this diagnosis exist in ancient time, or it just appeared in 20th century? How do you think? Did you think about
that? Yeah, I think that maybe there was not the word depression, but there was maybe another word, but describing the same feelings, the same cause, the same case, maybe.
But maybe you know the word even, but I'm sure you know. Just think about. I'm sure you know this word, yeah. It's a question to everyone. Yes, I think. Because actually, of course, this diagnosis existed many years ago, of course. I mean, it's not like new, even maybe the word is new, the word depression, yeah? But before, we had another word. We used another term for this state, emotional state, this heavy feelings, this kind of sadness. So when I'm talking about this feeling, maybe, I'm sure, not even maybe, I'm sure all of you also had this feeling in your life, yeah? Had these feelings, like, did you ever feel yourself like sad, upset? I don't know. That you wanted to cry, some heavy feelings. Did you have such feelings in your life?
Yes, of course. Especially after the birth, after the
birth. Oh, okay. After the birth, when you mean when you gave a birth to a child, you had this feelings.
You want to cry without reason. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, it's not necessarily about depression. Sometimes it can be connected with hormones. Yeah, we know that when you kind of giving birth to a child, your hormones and levels are changing. Yeah. Okay. So you experience these things. So you don't know, yeah, this word that I want to hear from you, how we call this state of depression many centuries ago. Actually, this is word melancholia. So have you heard this word?
Yes.
So
yes, now, of this word.
Yes. Now you know, yeah. So yes. So I will come back to my my PowerPoint presentation again, how I have to show you normal slideshow. Okay. So the word melancholia, actually, this is old one, yeah, and this belongs to Greek physician. You of course know his name, Hippocrates, yeah, Hippocrates. And he was talking about this emotional state when we feel this burdenness, yeah, this sadness and this heavy feelings. Yeah, he used this word melancholy, but he was talking about different fluids, yeah, that we have in our body. And when we experience this melancholy, he was talking about this fluid he called black bile. So you see the word, even how he was describing black. So so this the color, yeah. So that is why when we are talking about depression, so always connected with something. If we talk about colors, with some dark, yeah, colors. If we talk about weight, with some heaviness, yeah. And that was, of course, kind of. How to say, he was describing, yeah, the state, and actually they kind of offered some treatment for the people, yeah, who were suffering from this melancholia. They recommended them to spend some time with kind of things that they like to do. Yeah, they kind of recommended them to spend some time with people. So now we call it psychotherapy, but actually they did some recommendations, yeah, for people who suffer from this state in ancient times. But if we kind of go further, I mean, closer to our age, yeah, to our centuries, if we are talking about this medieval era, yeah, probably you know these things we were discussing. Remember when I was talking about these different diagnoses, how they were appeared in different centuries, and maybe you remember when I was when I was describing you this kind of things that were happening with witches. Yeah, they were burnt on the fire because you know, some people were thinking, yeah, that it's kind of disease. Actually, it's not about depression. It's more about hysteria I'm talking about, yeah, this diagnosis. So in medieval, witches were suffering mostly from hysteria, we would call like that. I mean, it's just it's not a statistics. Of course, it's just I mean preposition, yeah. But what I'm trying to tell you that during these ages, yeah, you maybe remember from the history, it's kind of this dyad god and devil, yeah, hell, yes. And heaven, all these things, yeah. And if a person kind of suffered from depression, people were thinking that it's something like something demonic inside of my soul. So did you get this sense? It's actually important, and why I'm kind of stopping on the things, because later in 20th century, all these ideas how we are understanding this emotional state that now we call depression. So this understanding helped us to see some kind of ideas for psychotherapy. So, and actually these things about demonic, yeah, nature of the depression, actually Carl Jung later he was kind of using in his psychotherapeutic idea how to treat depression. If we have time, I will tell about this things. So did you get it? Do you have any questions? Sorry. I was talking about medieval in Europe, yeah, but if to talk about Arabic world, I told you, yeah, about the things that in even in 9th century in Arabic world, art therapy appeared because doctors, physicians, yeah, Arabic physicians, they offer to treat some sad feelings with music, yeah, with some books, so, and we now call it as art therapy. But here, kind of, you can see the name of Persian physician Avicenna. Yeah, so he was actually describing, yeah, this state, melancholia. It's like a depressive type of mood disorder. Yeah, and he actually kind of added these symptoms that we now have in other, yeah, disorders. The symptoms like be very suspicious, yeah, and to have some phobias. So you now, for example, we use another word for this diagnosis. It's like some types of anxiety disorders, yeah. Anyway, but as I mentioned, depression often goes with this feeling of anxiety. Yes, and sometimes this anxiety, it's like, you know, it's like a fuel that kind of gives you from one side some energy, but from another side, it's like a fuel for the things that you do, a lot of hectic activity, and it takes the energy from you. Yeah, and as a consequences, we have this state when we don't have strength and etc. This again, I remind you, this is symptom of depression. Okay, and actually, you see this understanding of melancholy became classical. Yeah, so Avicenna gave us this understanding. Okay, and for the first time, actually, the word depression was mentioned in 17th or 18th century. But actually, he was a writer, yeah, Robert Burton. He described in his book The Anatomy of Melancholy. He kind of described different people, yeah, who experienced this state that we now call depression. But he described this different cases of people with melancholy, and the main conclusion that he made that everyone can suffer from this melancholy. So it's not only like some demons inside of my soul, and that is why I suffer from melancholy, or the devil inside. I mean, devil just kind of possessed me. I don't know how to describe. So it's not necessary with this, you know, spiritual or religious things. So he, for the first time, highlight these things again in Europe. Yeah, he for the first time highlight these things that everyone can suffer from this melancholy, from these heavy feelings. So it doesn't depend on your education. It doesn't depend on your experience. The only thing he was telling that if you kind of a fool, but not in terms of diagnosis, if you're stupid and fool, then maybe you won't suffer from this disease. But how do you think? A question to you. How do you think he told if you're, for example, fool, yeah, or stupid, it's not necessary that you have this melancholy. Why do you think he was talking about these things? Just think.
I think like when we are stupid, maybe we won't realize many things, and therefore we won't worry about things.
you don't have to worry about. Yeah, I mean, the connection is not. Yes, actually, yes. This was his idea. Yeah. So you see, so about the connection. So if you don't have many things to worry about, yeah, or that you value, so it's not necessary for you to suffer. So it's not, I mean, direct connection, but there is something here. Yeah. So because the words, yeah, we usually use when we describe the depression, and I already mentioned this words today. It's like feeling of sadness. Yeah, it's like I want to cry. So what else? I feel upset, but usually we have these emotions and feelings in our life when in what state or in I don't know which cases when it happens with us, when we experience these feelings in our everyday life. It's not about depression now, just in everyday life when you experience these feelings. Okay, you told that when you gave a birth to a child, for some time you kind of felt this like emotional ability, you wanted to cry, but also you felt some sadness. But maybe some other cases.
I think after when you can't solve some problems, you're feeling also sad and like irritable. Like I think when you can't solve problems.
Okay, when you can't solve problems. Okay, and other examples. Think. It's useful. If even we share this video via internet, but it's kind of also useful, yeah, to share
And
with
also,
our ideas.
like, when you can't share with your emotion with others.
When you can share, okay, when you don't have enough support, maybe you can,
keeping your emotions inside, and it will be after time become a like depression. I don't know, maybe.
Okay. No, just
When you
tell. Okay. Other examples?
When we feel nostalgia.
Nostalgia, but when you feel nostalgia? So nostalgia, it's what about? It's actually good, how to say example. But when we experience nostalgia, it's usually what about? Huh?
Like thinking or reflecting on the past. When we were when we had joy and now we don't have this. So like bittersweet or something like that.
Yes.
We feel.
Exactly. So when we lose something, we usually experience this feeling of sadness. We can be upset, and sometimes we have another state that we call grief. So this actually states, emotions and feelings, if they don't do their work, if I can say like that, we may experience depression, diagnosis of depression. What was the idea of Burton's? Maybe he had another idea, but it's like only preposition, yeah. That why he was kind of talking about a person who kind of not so. Clever, yeah, let's call like that. Because if such person just live their everyday life and doesn't have many, I don't know, dreams, illusions, and etc., he just kind of just simply live, yeah, every day. He enjoys everything he has now, so he doesn't have this thing that he loses something. So that is why maybe these people don't suffer from melancholy, from depression. Did you get this idea? So what I'm trying to tell you that usually this diagnosis, if we are talking about diagnosis, yeah, happen with some person, you have to differ, yeah, that it's really kind of diagnosed depression, but it's not like he is experiencing now the huge loss in his life or her life. Maybe someone died, maybe he kind of was fired from work. yes, maybe he lost some hopes and etc. Understand? Because so this is main idea. So everyone can be upset, yeah. Everyone can be sad. So yeah, so we lose many things in our life. That is life, yeah, because nothing kind of stands like the same. Everything is changing, yeah, and every new day can bring something new for us. But we say to some previous even day goodbye, yeah. But in that sense, it can be about nostalgia sometimes, but sometimes it can lead to depression. So did you get it? Yeah. Can I go further? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And yes, you see, so 19th century, actually, the end of 18th, yeah. The end of 18th, beginning of 19th century, finally, the word depression appeared. So we are talking not about melancholy, but we are talking about depression, yeah. And as we already translated it, it's from the Latin word deprima, that means press down. And for the first time, actually, this word was used in 1676, yeah. But that was not a doctor, a physician, it was historian, yeah, who just used this word, yeah, because he was describing kind of the state of mind, and he was talking about severe depression of mind. He was describing the experience of general who was captured by the Scots during war, and he just described his state. And after, you see, we started to use this word for depression. But before it was melancholy. So did you get it? Yeah. So maybe you can recognize, yeah, this picture. Actually, I decided to use this in presentation because the name of this picture is melancholy. So actually, you see, it's 19th century, and you know that in arts, in literature, and in other science in 19th century, people already started to express, yeah, to describe this state. So this, you know, Edward Munch, we say in Russian. Sorry, I don't know. Munch, maybe. So Edward Munch. So the other famous, his work is like Scream. But also, why I'm kind of telling you about this thing, so how we understand, yeah, this diagnosis from one side, and how we understand this depression. It's also kind of very interesting because you see, only in 19th century, it's kind of how I would like to say, it's like, so people already started to show, yeah, the states, if I can say like that. So before they were hiding, yes, dialogue, etc. And this surname probably you already know. And in 19th century, in 1895, the German psychiatrist Emil Kraepelin, this is very kind of meaningful surname for psychiatry. Yeah, he for the first time described, yeah, this mental state that we now have this term bipolar disorder. But then he, for the first time, made this description that there is such state that we call manic, yeah, depression. Manic depression is another state. It's like mania. So it's again, it's opposite to feel depressed. It's like opposite state when you're very, very active. Yeah, and it's like if to compare depression like something that under pressure, somewhere down. Yeah, so mania is opposite. And Emil Kraepelin for the first time kind of described, yeah, that there is a different state. And it's like now what I'm trying to tell, we are talking about diagnosis now, about diagnosed depression. So it's only the end of 19th century, yeah, and he made this diagnosis different from dementia precox, because as we can remember, I already told you about this since in 19th century. In psychiatry, hysteria, that was very popular diagnosis, yeah. Remember, we discussed this since when Freud invented his psychoanalysis, yeah, we started to talk about psychotherapy, yes, and actually hysteria was a very, very kind of common diagnosis in 19th century. But anyway, depression and melancholy existed, yeah, and people started to be more careful with this word, yeah. So now we're talking about depression. So did you get it?
Yes.
Okay, I think maybe I was already talking about the book of Freud, Mourning and Melancholy. Just please tell me, did you hear from me before? Because I really love this book.
Yes.
Have you read it?
I didn't read, but I I downloaded it and have some look at the book, but I didn't read the whole book.
So I really recommend you, to read this work. It's not a book even. It's it's an article, if I can say like that. And what's a really interesting thing, that when I was reading it, I was reading in Russian, of course, but how they translated this article into Russian, they translated like печаль и меланхолия. Печаль. So that's if to talk if oh my god, so it's very difficult to switch between two languages. So if we are talking about this work in English, actually, you see it's a completely different word. It's mourning and melancholy. And when we are talking about mourning, you can kind of understand what does depression mean, yeah. So I was explaining you, yeah, that when we lose something, we often experience this feeling that I feel upset, sad, I'm grieving, I'm mourning, yeah, when I'm losing something important for me. Because if you don't have such feelings, such deep feelings, that means this thing, or if you are talking about person, he was not so important for you. But most strong feelings you have, that means very, very valuable for you. Yeah, and if you lose something valuable, you can really experience this state of mourning. Yeah, and it's normal. So you have to understand that this is a normal thing. It's like sometimes we use this expression between psychologists that mourning and grieving has to do their job or their work. These different stages of grieving. Probably you have heard about, yeah, 5 stages of grieving.
Yes.
Kubler-Ross, I mean, I won't stop for this, but it's like it describes the experience, yeah, when we kind of losing something, and when this grief is doing its job, if I can say like that, it's work, yeah. So in that sense, when Freud, for the first time, from medical perspective, from psychological perspective, if I can say like that, he paid attention that if we lose something or someone, so, and if we can mourn, then we don't have melancholia after. So by the word of melancholia, he meant depression. So it was diagnosed. So now the heaviest form of depression we call melancholia. Still, so talking about this word. So in DSM and ICD, this is heaviest form of depression. But if for some, reasons, person can't cope, yeah, with this loss, so maybe it's too much for me, I was suffering from, I don't know, sometimes even physical disease or something. like some emotional stresses, I don't know. So I don't have this ability now to cope with these things. Yeah, then this process of mourning can stop. So or it may happen later. But usually when we lose something important, we have some time for experiencing this mourning. And usually how many, I don't want days, months, years usually it takes if we lose something very, very important in terms of time. How many months, days, years? How do you think?
Yeah, as we know, in our culture, we have 40 days after someone's death, and we have 1 year, and sometimes we have 2 years. I think these symbolical dates are very important.
Yes, so this actually
go through.
Yes, and this is like stages of grieving, yeah, or the process of mourning, yeah, exactly. So in every culture, it's very similar, yeah. I mean, in terms of time, it's very similar. So the strongest period is first days. Yeah, sometimes people even can't understand what is happening. Yeah, they deny the things, and only after. In that sense, emotions and feelings, and this process makes again its work. So usually, if you lose something very important for you, and if you are okay, I mean, you don't have any disease, any mental disease diagnosis, so you are in that sense without any pathology. Yeah, anyway, we are talking about abnormal psychology classes, yeah, courses. So usually maximum it's 2 years. Yeah, and after 2 years it's much more easier. So the process of mourning is 2 years. But if it's longer, then we can talk already about diagnosis of depression. And Freud, when he was kind of explaining in this paper that when we lose something, yeah, we usually kind of experience this mourning. But if, for example, the object you, for example, were falling in love and you broke up with this object, or he died, for example, yeah, and if it was part of your soul, if it was, I mean, I'm very, very simplifying. Yes, okay, you should read because I don't have time for this. That is why I make it very simple. But the main idea in this paper, in this article, that if this object inside of me and part of my psychic, then I can experience melancholy because I am losing not something external, I am losing something internal, some part of me. And that is why it can lead to this diagnosis of melancholy and depression. Actually, I recommend you to read Freud because he was talking about hysteria also, and he was talking about phobias in his works. But this kind of main thing about melancholy and mourning. So this is difference between just normal mourning and if someone can experience this melancholy. Did you get it? It's a really important idea for me. I don't know, maybe for me, but I think it's for psychotherapy, especially if you kind of in this psychoanalytical approach or psychodynamic approach, you can help your patient or client, with this process of recovering. Because Freud, of course, Freud, he was talking about libido, that this object kind of, for example, I lost this object and my libido, in that sense, doesn't see this object. But according to Freud, we remember that libido is psychic energy, and this energy needs this external object. And in that sense, why melancholy is happening, because there is no this object and the libido kind of inside of me. And sometimes it goes near without aggression and etc. Because Freud was telling that I can't although myself this idea that I'm angry on this object, yeah, and but actually I'm angry on it, but because this object is part of my psychic, my internal world, that is why I become angry on myself. So I recommend you, yeah, from psychotherapeutic perspective, it's very interesting work. Yes, can I go further? Did you get with this as Freud? And of course, yeah, with Freud, yeah, again, of course, was Carl Jung. And I was telling you, yeah, that I will come back to his idea of psychotherapy when I was describing you this understanding of melancholia during medieval. But maybe you have already heard about this, and I probably told on my lectures because I see some students from fourth year of education, and I was lecturing, yeah, maybe about you. Maybe I was talking about the things. Maybe you have read yourself how he was understanding the depression, Carl Jung. Maybe it's not only about him, but it's very, very popular now to talk about analytical psychology. Yeah, they have really strong society, and there are plenty of books that are describing this state that we call depression now, and how to cope, yeah, with this state. And most of them, they are Jungian analysts. So, and their books are very popular. It's not very, how to say, difficult for reading, and it's not necessary to be psychologist to read it. But maybe you have read. Have you heard or read something about this analytical approach, how they understand the No?
No.
I can't see, sorry, this chat, but no. Okay, it's actually written here. If you read the slides, the answer is here. You see, so Jung, he was describing, yeah, the depression. It's like, it's the state that can help you. It's a part of transformative process. Yeah, it's like, I don't know how to tell you very short. I will try to be short because I also love, yeah, works of Carl Jung. So his idea, yeah, that we have, yeah, also this libido, yeah, this psychic energy. So actually, Freud was talking about libido in terms of sexual energy, yeah, but Jung was talking about terms of psychic energy. And our soul, yeah, our soul had this psychic energy. And when, for example, you experience in your life something very heavy for you, okay, if you lose something, I don't know, if you, for example, okay, let's talk about not job or something not material, but if you lost someone, like person, yeah, someone died, for example, if someone died and this person was very close to you, and you, as we know already, you experience this state of mourning, grieving, and if you remember the colors that we usually compare, yeah, this state of melancholy, it's a black, yeah. So according to Jung, when we have this feelings, when we experience this loss or this something is changing, yeah, in our life anyway, it's also about loss, we kind of go into something like dark and deep. So in that sense, we lose our energy, for example. Or if to talk this not literally, but sometimes when I'm sleeping, actually, this is to go down deep and into the dark, yeah. So I just fall asleep, yeah, and in that sense, metaphorical, it's a small death, yeah. Every day, for example, I experience this small death. But if to talk about the things metaphorically, so it's like a small death I experience, yeah. and I have to allow myself to be in this death. So I go very deep inside of some deep part of my soul, into something dark and black. But actually there, according to Jung, we have a lot of wisdom. Yeah, there we have a lot of experience that our mankind has before me, or human being had, that he called collective, yeah, unconsciousness. And this word self, yeah, you know, this is part of our human being structure. And when I have these feelings, so sometimes I kind of go into this deep of my soul. So I go into depression state. So what I'm trying to tell, sorry, I'm trying to be very, very short in that sense. But when I experience this depression, that's very transformative for me. So if I allow be this state, if I really kind of experience that, yes, I lost, yeah, I allow myself to mourn, yeah, to be in this dark, yeah, to have all this burdenness, yeah, and don't see the light. So it can help me to awake, yes, and it's like a natural process. So did you get it? It's very important. And if you will be reading some books of his students, maybe not only his books, but they usually describe this experience of depression that there are in some fairy tales, in some novels, and etc. If you remember some fairy tales, you know, this is usually a story when something is happening, and for example, children go somewhere into the forest, or they go somewhere into some other places that are very dark. Yeah, so it's usually associated with unconsciousness. So if to tell very short, so when I have these feelings in my unconsciousness, there is everything that can help me. I just allow to be this process. Yeah, I just have to go very down, very deep inside of my unconscious, and then I will kind of awake in a new state. I mean, it makes some sense for you. Did you get it? Because I don't want to be very kind of alone in this terms, but it's very, very interesting, you know, point of view. And so depression, it's by itself, it's a transformative process. You know, maybe, yeah, that Jung during First World War, he experienced, yeah, such type of states when he had, yeah, this now we call it hallucinations, yes, but then he had some, during those times, he had some visions, yeah, he suffering from, he lost, yeah, his friendship with Freud and etc. So now we can call it as depression, yeah, but he actually, several years later, he recovered from the state. In a new state, if I can say like that. And he was, after he was writing a lot of work, yeah, on these things about unconsciousness, that we have to trust, yeah, our experience, that we have to trust our psychic and the things that we have in our internal world. Did you get it? Can I go further? No questions? Okay. Aaron Beck. This guy you probably know. Just tell me, because he's very famous, and now I believe, yeah, it's still the most popular way how we treat depression. Do you know anything about Aaron Beck?
There are tests.
Yes, of course.
Beck test.
Yes, Beck's test on depression. Yeah. Yes. He invented it. But what do you know about him? I mean, his ideas, yeah, about depression.
Not much. I just know the test.
Okay. Other people, do you know anything? Okay, he was a founder of cognitive behavioral therapy. It's not about psychology, it's about psychotherapy. Actually, he, of course, he started from psychoanalysis, and you have just heard Freud and Jung. So he was talking about unconsciousness at first. Yeah. But then he understood that people who experience this state, depression, yeah, it was already diagnosed depression. It existed already in the middle of 20th century. He kind of proposed that it's not only about some unconsciousness, yeah, and something that, for example, you are losing something and you don't know what you lost, and you kind of experience this melancholy that Freud was talking about. But he made this proposition that, sometimes when we think literally, when we have these automatic, spontaneous, negative thoughts, these thoughts can lead to this depression state. So it's very important, yeah, when we negatively thinking about ourselves, yeah, that, oh, I'm loser, so everyone is kind of in this group cleverer than me, yeah, and they kind of have read this book of Jung. I didn't read it. I didn't read it. I mean, I'm just joking, but I understand, yeah. So if you have kind of negative thoughts about yourself, if you have these negative thoughts about world in general, oh, kind of we have really huge problem with air pollution, we don't have resources, so how we can survive? I mean, I'm just highlighting, but if you think negatively about yourself, environment, world, and about your future, then he called this things as triad. Yeah, we still call it triad, depressive triad. Then it may cause you a depression. You may experience this state of depression. And he was talking about diagnosis. It's not like I just lost something. It's still very popular, the most popular way how we do psychotherapy of depression, especially in the United States. Cognitive behavioral therapy is very, very popular still. And you know that in the United States and in Europe, when you have this diagnosed depression, sometimes insurance companies, they cover you the psychotherapy, and usually it's covered with cognitive behavioral therapeutic directions in schools, therapists. So they usually remember this treatments. Did you get it? So when I'm actually talking about the history and how people were understanding the phenomenon of depression, let's call it like that, you see, it's also the way how to treat it. It's about psychotherapy. So we are psychologists, we are talking about psychotherapy. And if continue to talk about this depression, you know that in the middle of 20th century, we had this another invention. It's like medicine, drugs appeared. So, for example, in 19th century, actually, depression and melancholy and some forms of history actually was treated by hypnosis mostly. But Freud, for example, himself, he was using cocaine. You know, that at the end of 19th centuries, opium, cocaine, was using for treatment, for medical treatment of this heavy mental states. But in the middle of 20th century, pharmacy appeared, so it's drugs. I mean, not like cocaine or opium or cannabis, marijuana, but I mean, some drugs appeared. And actually, it really helped with the treatment of depression, because in 1970s, biological explanation of depression appeared, because some scientists were starting to describe that it's not only about some heavy feelings about psychology. It's also about brain chemistry, hormones, and brain anatomy, genetics. All this may cause depression, and in that sense, on the medical treatment, yeah, can help. So did you get it? That is why we need antidepressants. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not medical professional, I'm not psychiatrist, but you know that probably you had this class on psychopharmacology. I believe you have it as part of your education, pharmacology, yeah. So sometimes they describe different antidepressants. So now there are plenty of these antidepressants, and they have kind of different targets, because it's very, very important, yeah, to get important to get really good medical treatment, because if it's not your drug, it can be worse in terms of your biological or psychological state. And in 20th century, we kind of, thanks God, we had these drugs, yeah, and this idea how we understand depression. But I also mentioned here some names that I really like, and I like this existential direction, how they also do psychotherapy of depression. And actually I attended the classes of Dr. Alfred Langley about depression. Yes, and actually he is a representative of existential analysis. But if to be very short, so they kind of what they do, I mean, if Aaron Beck works with thoughts mainly, yeah, with these cognitive things, for example, Viktor Frankl, he was working with meaning. So sometimes people kind of feeling depressed when they really don't have meaning in their life, because someone can die, and maybe this person was your meaning, in that sense. Frankl was describing this case of his patient who lost his wife and suffered from depression. And when he appeared on the session with Dr. Frankl, it was only one session. Yeah, I told you about this case. So this old doctor told to Dr. Frankl, please don't prescribe me any medicine. I am myself physician, but I suffer because I lost my wife a couple of years ago, and I don't see the meaning what for to live in this life. And Dr. Frankl, he was asking him the only one question, yes, so what would be your wife experience if you would die just? And at that moment, he understood that he, of course, didn't want this experience for her, this feelings of burdenness, this darkness and this sadness and all this states that we were describing. And he told, yes, okay, yeah, I understood, thanks. Yeah, in that sense, Dr. Frankl, he filled this his suffering with some meaning, and it can be really curable for depression. So, and Rollo May, for example, he was trying to highlight this idea to see a person, some possibilities that he has in the future, because as we know already, person can suffer when we experience depression. When we have this depression, we don't see future. But sometimes if I lose somehow future because of some, I don't know, something that happened. Maybe there was an earthquake and I lost my apartment, my house, everyone died. Maybe there was some war, that everyone died and I had to move to another country. And in that sense, I don't see the future in this place. I just lost everything for just some very short time, and I don't see future. But if to help person to see some future, maybe it can also help in that sense to treat depression, I mean to do psychotherapy. But very important thing, you have to understand that depression, if we are talking about especially heavy forms of depression like melancholy, like dysthymia, like bipolar disorder, it requires medical treatment. Okay. Did you get it?
Yes.
So actually, I don't know. There are now, I mean, there are some types of depression, but this very medical things. I don't know if you need this or not. I can stop very short, but if you don't want, I just can continue some psychotherapeutic approach, or maybe, or you want to know just some short, I can give some short description.
Yeah, briefly, please.
Okay, so but you can read, yeah. there are more than this, yeah.
I mean, we
yes.
need this information.
Yes. Okay. So major depression. This is kind of we use some synonyms. Oh my God, synonyms also for this major depression, like clinical depression, yeah, and sometimes we call it unipolar depression. So usually it kind of it lasts for some time, but not like for years, yeah. So sometimes someone of you experience, yeah, this state of depression when you gave a birth to a child. So maybe, I don't know, it's maybe we were able to talk about diagnosis of depression. I don't know, maybe you are diagnosed with this state. So it's like sometimes we call also this things like reactive depression. It's like a reaction, yeah, to something. And it's like postnatal depression. So it's sometimes some months, yeah, and in that sense it can disappear. But sometimes people can experience in this major depression, they can experience even hallucinations, yeah. So this is different form of this major depression. And there are some different levels, yeah. It can be mild, it can be moderate, and severe depression. Of course, if you are talking about severe depression, it is necessary to have these antidepressants. If it's can be mild depression, usually it's psychotherapy, and sometimes doctors prescribe medicine, but for very short time. So it's usually mild, this type of mild depression as a reaction to something may happen in, for example, 2 weeks or just 1 month. Okay, and that another one is a persistent depressive disorder. It's another name, dysthymia. It's old diagnosis, yeah. And this here you can see this lasts for at least 2 years. Yes, and usually kind of it's like it's minimum, yeah, 2 years. And it's another term for this is chronic major depression. And people can lose appetite, yeah, or they just eat a lot, or they don't eat at all. I kind of mentioned about this symptoms at the beginning when I was talking about symptoms of depression in general, yeah. And they suffer from this absence of energy, yeah. They always often complain on fatigue, yeah, and all these things connected with low self-esteem. They have these suicidal thoughts, yeah. They have these problems with concentrating. They have these problems with the decision making, and all these things. But you have to understand that, you see, it's for a long time. It's not like a short reaction for, I don't know, you were fired from job and for months you suffer from this major depression. It's like a reaction, yeah. But if it's like 3 years ago you were fired from job, but you still kind of, yeah, suffer, and every day, you know what the main thing in this depression, the heaviest time for these people, yeah, who has depression, the heaviest time of the day, how do you think, which one, which part of the day, what part of the day, it's like the heaviest time for them? How do you think?
Morning.
Morning, yes.
I think morning.
Yes. It's like it's the difficult, yeah. The most difficult part of it. It's like, oh, I woke up and again it's like a huge day. Yeah, but in the evening it's easier, yeah, for them. So another form is seasonal affective disorder. So sometimes, yeah, such type of people experience, this during spring or winter. So it's literally happens with them when seasons changes. Yeah. I mean, usually it's okay also when autumn, and there is no light. We experience some, let's call it depression, but not in terms of diagnosis. Yeah, it's like a state. Yeah, it's like a sad mood and etc. Yeah, but usually, if I mean, it disappears, but sometimes it can lead you to diagnose. Yeah, so it's a seasonal affective disorder. The symptoms are almost the same, but it depends on the seasons. Yeah, understand? Oh, sorry, someone. Sorry, sometimes I forget to read chat that question. So someone was replying earlier. Okay, bipolar disorder, it's very fashionable diagnosis now. And I was mentioning, at the beginning of lecture that when, not at the beginning, when I was talking about Emil Kraepelin, when he was describing, this manic state, manic depression. So bipolar disorder consists of two states. Yeah, it's like mania and depression. So you know about, you know a lot about depression now, all these states. Yeah, but mania, it's opposite. Yeah, and this stages is changing, and usually it's not only about seasons. So sometimes mania can happen for several years. And my teacher, I told you about her, Alevtina Fedorovna Zhelonkina, who was a psychiatrist. This term bipolar disorder in Soviet time, they know about маниакально-депрессивный психоз, как они его, mania-depressive psychosis, they call it, yeah. And she was telling me about the patient she has that he was, the whole life, he was in mania, and only when he was after 60, he lost someone. This was the first and the only one episode of depression. Oh, it's I mean, the time varies, yeah. But you know what I mean, I'm paying attention now. I work with addiction, with drug addiction. Why I'm talking about fashion on this diagnosis. That a lot of patients that I have, they have this diagnosis of bipolar disorder. They come from different countries, not from former Soviet countries. They come from Europe, yeah, from United States, America, other countries, all over the world, Arabic countries, Turkish countries, and it's very often when they have this diagnosis, but maybe because it's, if you talk about comorbidity, yeah, drug addiction is also about emotional changes. So what I'm trying to tell you is, to my opinion, and to opinion of my colleagues who are psychiatrists, sometimes it's diagnosis that's not put correctly. I mean, it's sometimes they overdiagnosed, if I can tell like that. And another type of depression, psychotic depression, yeah. So in that sense, the word psychotic, yeah, they have hallucinations, yeah, delusions, paranoia, and all these things. So when we are talking about the description of melancholia during medieval, yeah, not even medieval, in 16th, 17th century, yeah, so they were already talking about this, yeah, type of depression. So did you get it?
Yes.
Okay, so I already told you, I don't know, here there is criteria, yeah, for depression. So actually we are talking about diagnosis, yeah. Diagnosis. How actually, by the way, the correct word in English, diagnose or diagnosis? To the end of the lecture, I decided to ask. I'm sorry, but diagnose or diagnosis? Amurkan, I can't hear you.
It's written here, a diagnosis.
Diagnosis, okay. So I hope that people who will be watching us forgive me my English. Sorry, Russian is my native. But okay, so diagnosis of depression according to ICD. Now, you know that ICD-11 appeared, but for example, in Russian-speaking countries, it's still not, we don't use it yet, yeah? But ICD, this is classification of World Health Organization, but if you are in America, so in America, there is another classification, DSM-5, yeah? But because we are in another, continent, I'm using ICD criteria. So this criteria for diagnosed depression. Yeah, so as you can see, you have to have at least 5 of these symptoms for 2 weeks or more. And plus to the symptoms, you have to at least have one of the symptoms that have to be about your depressed mood. Yes, and you have to lose interest to some pleasure. So the symptoms are depressed mood most of the day, yeah, that you lose interest, yeah, that you don't do much, you're losing your activities every day. You can't do it. The thing that you were enjoying before, they don't bring you this enjoyment, yeah, anymore. You can lose your weight, yeah. You have these problems with sleep, insomnia or hypersomnia. Yes, you have this psychomotor agitation or retardation nearly every day. So this is about anxiety. I told you, yeah, this anxiety often goes together with depression. There are even different forms of depression. It's like sometimes doctors, physicians, and psychiatrists talks about. It's literally they call it anxiety form of depression. So you have these feelings of worthlessness that you inappropriate. You have this guilt, yeah, that it's not real guilt, as I was telling you at the beginning. And every day you have this feeling of guilt. Yes, and you are not able to concentrate, and you have this thoughts about death almost every day. And I told you that the main risk that we have in depression is suicide. So if to talk about Carl Jung idea, yeah, that kind of this state can lead us to transformation. So anyway, it has this, yeah, deep ideas that everything inside of our unconscious and psychic, we just have to be able to access this, yeah, energy, if we can tell like that. But we have to be very careful, yeah, because a patient can literally die. But why people usually don't die from depression? If I can say it like that, sorry. But it's literally, why I'm laughing, because it's literally they don't have the strength. So I told you, yeah, so that energy, people who suffer from depression, they don't have this energy. They complain on this fatigue, yeah. And if I don't have this power and strength, I even can't commit suicide. Yes. So, but sometimes, and I had these things in my life. It wasn't my patient, but I have heard from my colleagues who were telling me that many years ago, when this medicine appeared and there were not so many antidepressants, it was popular, this idea, some depressive patients, some psychiatrists gave them stimulants. Stimulators, drugs, is like cocaine, or just it was medicine that's stimulating, yeah, nervous system, and some people were dying. So several cases happened because this person, for example, he didn't have energy because of depression, and when they gave this patient these stimulators, yeah, he immediately had this energy and he was able to commit suicide. So you have to be very careful. In that sense, it's really deep idea of Jung, yeah. If you suffer and you don't have energy, it's like very wisdom, mechanism of my body, that I sleep, I don't have energy, I'm just going really deep. But this idea to transform it, to be transformed and to go, if I can say like that, on the next level. And the main difference, because as I mentioned, now ICD-11 exists, not at every country we use it, but actually it has to be used from 2025, if I'm not mistaken, from February 2025, but I can be mistaken. So only you see what the difference. So in ICD-10, depression diagnosis requires 2 weeks of low mood, but in ICD-11, depression diagnosis does not require 2 weeks or of low mood. It includes, they have new category, mixed anxiety and depression. So it means less time you need for be diagnosed with this depression. So I believe this is everything I wanted to tell you. I hope I was kind of, I was trying to be short. I mean, I'm sorry because I really like, for example, existential and psychoanalytical approach. But as I mentioned before, my idea was to talk more about, I don't know, maybe psychology, but we have some time, 10 minutes actually, we still have, we may use it for some questions if you have, I don't know, some comments. It's very popular diagnosis. So that is why I decided to make a lecture about this, especially depression and bipolar disorder. It's very, very fashionable now, diagnosis. So did you get something useful for you?
Yeah, it's very useful. And I have a question. I had a friend and she has a sister and she was like in burnout she was in depression for a long time. I mean, she didn't have any financial problems. She was a housewife and her husband was very, not wealthy, but they don't have any financial issues or something. But she was like in a depression for a long time and she decided to go to the psychologist and he offered her electroshock like therapy. And she was ready to do this. And I was just thinking, is it helpful or is it ethical? Or I don't know how to say, to use electroshock or something like that in treatment.
Which country?
Turkey.
Turkey. Actually, it depends on the country, because some countries, they kind of still use some types of treatment. Actually, I don't know about this treatment because now we have different types of treatment. It's mostly connected with medicine, with drugs, antidepressants, yes, as I mentioned, if we are talking about depression, because burnout, as I mentioned before, it's one of the form of depression, yes. Some people they can consider burnout as depression, especially I'm talking about Dr. Alfred Langley. I was mentioning about him, and actually I don't know if it's effective or not, and if it's ethical or not, because it depends on the law of the Turkey. I'm not familiar with their laws. But for example, in United States, they use cognitive behavior therapy plus antidepressants. A lot of antidepressants, and it's a very, very popular diagnosis. And as you can remember, it's like almost how many? 300 million people suffering from this diagnosis all over the world, according to World Health Organization. So, and if I mean, there is statistics, so usually such people who gets into the statistic, they are in some hospitals. So that means they have official diagnosis and they take antidepressants. But I don't know, to be honest, about electroshock. Sorry, but we here in Kyrgyzstan, I believe it's forbidden, but I may be mistaken. I don't know about Turkey. I mean, you know that some methods of treatments that were used in 20th century in some countries, we still use them. For example, I told you that I work with drug addiction and alcohol addiction, and you know that for a long time we didn't use electroshock, yeah, but anyway we used some type of treatment of addiction that were using last even century. So some other questions.
Thank you for your lecture. It was really useful for me, and the new information I got it. But I have a question related to the seasonal depression. Why for some people can affect the seasonal changes? Only for some people, yeah, not for all.
Yes, it's not for all. Actually, it connected with brain chemistry. You know, sometimes people who suffer from this cyclothymia we had before this storm, yes, cyclothymic type of depression. So it's literally connected with the neurotransmitters. It's about, I mean, if you want to go deeper, maybe you should read some neuropsychological research. Because I'm not a neuropsychologist, but it's literally connected with low level of some hormones and its biological features. Especially when you were describing the things that your mood was changing when you gave a birth to a child, it's also connected with biological things, with hormones, and this may lead to changing of your mood, and this may lead to this we can call it like seasons depression, yeah, or cyclothymia. So it's not for everyone. Yeah, so biology kind of plays, physiology plays a role here. And there are some also theories that, for example, tells us that anxiety also, we experience anxiety usually when we feel something that there is some danger, yeah, somewhere, real danger or danger in your imagination. But there are such theories that there is kind of some genes, so some in your biology that these people are more anxious than just type of character, because there are people there are people who have this character, if I can say like that, the feature of a character, yeah, to be very anxious. But there are theories that describe, that it's also connected with biology. So that is why it's literally connected with chemistry, biochemistry, with all these hormones, neurotransmitters, and all these things. And you know what kind of risky thing that if you, for example, suffered from depression and you were not diagnosed with depression, and you, for example, suffered from this depression, but then kind of life, if I can say like that, kind of treated you, yes. So in the future, for example, this depression can come back because it was not treated, and neuropsychology, biochemistry, all these neurotransmitters, they still suffer. Why, for example, some people are recommended to take melatonin, because when you kind of sleep, we recover, as I mentioned, but if you're not able to sleep, and sometimes it's not only because you have some negative thoughts or some worries, but sometimes it's because of work. Some people, they have to work some, I don't know, extreme professions, etc., and they don't sleep, and they kind of may suffer from this depression because low level of melatonin. So it's kind of like that. So any other questions?
I don't have.
Okay. Yes, thanks that you were watching me here, watching me till the end. Yeah, I see girls that I'm kind of missing.
It was good.
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry I was late because
no, it's okay. Yes, it's okay, no worries. And this was our last lecture, yeah, for this abnormal psychology class. I decided just to invite some people, yeah, today from other courses and classes. So thank you very much.